Performing the power of laws wasn't necessarily an indicator of having reached the star state. Having been a teacher in the Humia Academy for years, he had seen his fair share of geniuses who had perceived the power of laws while still being fate state warriors. Those geniuses weren't at the star state, but they were even more horrifying than those who were. At the front, the white-robed young man was shocked by such development. He had sensed the explosion of laws near him. The energy leakage alone was enough to give him a fright, making him want to flee. When star state experts fought, mortals would suffer. Since you're indeed at the star state, let's just drop the matter. The middle-aged man cancelled his power and dispelled the attack. He had already seen that Suoping was extraordinary and wasn't eager to continue. Nothing would be gained from all the fuss. Any star state expert would have been infuriated if they knew that they had tried to arrest one of them after killing a student who tried to rob him. After all, however honorable the students of the huge Mia Academy were, they weren't star state experts in the end. You've come to my place to swagger around, and now you want to get away. Suoping narrowed his eyes and chuckled. Like I said, since you're here as a teacher, apologize to me on behalf of your student. The middle-aged man showed a gloomy face to Suoping. Are you really going to make trouble out of this? Our student did make a mistake, but you've already killed her. She answered for her mistake with her life. Even so, you still want us to apologize. A bad student is a teacher's mistake. Shouldn't you apologize for not teaching your students well? Suoping gradually abandoned his smile and said, if she would have robbed someone else who didn't have my cultivation, would she have been justified to keep it? Is it something that your academy does? All the customers in the queue nodded hard. Nobody would dare express their support aloud, since they held the Humia Academy's name in awe, but they were undoubtedly on Suoping's side. They would have been arrested if any of them would have counterattacked after being robbed, considering how unreasonable the Humia Academy was. Wasn't it unfair? The middle-aged man looked at Suoping in the eye and said, what if I don't apologize? Suoping looked back at him and said calmly, that's also fine. Since you've already tested me, I'll also test you and see if you're truly from the Humia Academy. I'll let you go if you can survive one of my attacks. The middle-aged man's eyes were contracted with fury. This man has been crossing the line further and further without any respect for my academy. Okay, I'll gladly oblige to find out how strong you are. He took a deep breath and stared at Suoping. Not only was he going to survive Suoping's attack, he would also launch a brutal counterattack. He would teach the man the price of arrogance. Come on. Suoping stepped out and took to the sky. He appeared 2,000 meters above Wofet City in the blink of an eye. All the city buildings were underneath him. Soon after, the middle-aged man also jumped and flashed to reach him. Countless people on the street were looking up, hoping to watch the Star State battle. Let's enter the tertiary space. I don't want my customers to be affected. While Suoping talked, a stream of darkness surged from his back and corrupted the space before him, before it stretched out toward the middle-aged man. The latter narrowed his eyes but didn't resist. He had noticed that Suoping was using the power of space in his previous attack. That was a remarkable power. He wasn't surprised by the delicate usage of space power since space was his opponent's forte. They were soon enshrouded in the secondary space. Then, a dark web appeared in the secondary space again and carried them into the tertiary space. The tertiary space was a battlefield for Star State experts. Lethal, sharp torrents were surging everywhere. Little skeleton. A vortex appeared next to Suoping. The little skeleton stepped out and covered Suoping's body as pure bone energy. On his opposite side, the middle-aged man also became grave, not daring to underestimate Suoping whose power was rising. He summoned his own pet, which was a peak Star State dragon that was unleashing a horrifying pressure. A thought triggered his fusion with the dragon. Have you noticed that I have peak Star State power? The middle-aged man who had transformed into half a dragon gazed at Suoping coldly with golden pupils. His eyes were as intimidating as those of an emperor. Even though he was merely at the beginning of the star state, merging with his pet allowed him to fight against peak star state beasts, and even defeat them. Sui Ping's eyes were still dark and profound. A bone stretched from his palm, and he grabbed it. It was exactly the bone saber hanging from the little skeleton's waist. "Are you ready?" Sui Ping turned to him. "Humph!" The middle-aged man snorted even more furiously. Golden light surfaced on his body and covered him, constructing multiple defense skills that had complicated energy circuits. One of them contained power of the law the dragon had mastered. He had prepared an offensive skill underneath all the defensive skills. When those defensive skills were used, the offensive skill would be triggered and used for counterattacks. He was determined to teach Sui Ping a good lesson. Sword technique, hell of 4 dimensions. Sui Ping was holding a saber, and yet he chose to perform a sword technique. His eyes were cold, and 4 laws gathered on his arm. Following his control, they were infused and compressed inside the bone saber. The grey bone saber released a magnificent and sacred aura because of the laws. They were 3 streams of faith power that Sui Ping had acquired from the void debris. The power of faith was then spread out, making the space around the bone saber shake. It felt as if the tertiary space was falling apart. 4 laws? The middle-aged man narrowed his eyes in shock after noticing the power of laws on Sui Ping's bone saber. He had only seen the law of space before, but then he also noticed 2 laws of lightning and 1 law of darkness. This young man has mastered 4 laws. He's undoubtedly a star state expert. He must also be at the mid-phase of the star state. Apart from the 4 laws, the middle-aged man was also astonished to find the power of faith being exuded by the ordinary bone saber. He was a teacher of the Humia Academy anyway, he was certain of his findings. This guy does have a Star Lord supporter. I admit defeat. The middle-aged quickly said. On the street outside Sui Ping's shop, everybody looked up at the sky. Both Sui Ping and the star stage expert from the Humia Academy had entered the inner space. Nobody had moved to watch the battle in the secondary space, knowing that they would probably go further and fight in the tertiary space. Even if they did fight in the secondary space, they might still get accidentally killed. Will the boss lose? Probably not. After all, I heard that the 3 representatives of the rein family were defeated by the boss. But this is a star state warrior from the Humia Academy. I heard that their people often defeat opponents above their level. All the star state members are outstanding. Seriously? Does this man really have a peak star state combat ability? Everybody whispered. Exactly at that moment a thunder echoed in the void and a black vortex appeared from a crack. Following that phenomena, a man fell right from the sky. Bang! The man went and directly crashed into the street below, vomiting blood. Master Grange. Well. On the street both the white-robed young man and the woman were so shocked that their eyeballs had almost popped up, as the man who was falling turned out to be their senior. The woman quickly took action and invoked a wind current, attempting to stop his fall. However, the wind was shattered the next moment and he smashed into the ground, leaving a pit. Fortunately, the wind had lowered his speed, or he would have pierced into the ground a dozen meters more. There were loud gasps after seeing the man inside the pit. He was a star state big shot from the Humia Academy. He had been defeated, and knocked out of the inner space while vomiting blood. That was truly shocking. Dead silence reigned on the street. Everybody was stunned. Exactly at this moment, Sui Ping stepped out of the void right next to the pit's edge. The bones covering his body were retracted, and the little skeleton resumed its original shape next to him. All eyes were wide open after seeing the familiar little skeleton. It was the skeleton. None of them expected to find that it belonged to Boss Su. Boss Su is a star state big shot. And yet, one of his battle pets is not at the star state? However, considering the aptitude of that skeleton, it did make sense. It was just as valuable as a star state pet, considering how it crushed all the Class A pets. It would excel in its level once it broke through to the star state. This explains why it's so tough. I didn't know it belonged to Boss Su. No wonder, I was curious why my dragon escaped in the battle the moment it saw this skeleton, although it's usually very aggressive. They must have trained together. Trained together? Your pet was surely traumatized. Everybody whispered to each other and even forgot about the expert from the Humia Academy who was still lying in the pit. Sir! The white-robed young man and the woman, however, didn't forget him. They hurriedly gave him a hand. Grange looked awful, blood dripping from his lips. He was still in half-dragon fusion at the moment, fully covered in scales. However, blood was still leaking from his chest and his arms. That was because he had exerted too much strength to block Suo Ping's attack. It wasn't hard to imagine what a fierce attack he had endured. Seeing that Suo Ping had cancelled the fusion, Grange gritted his teeth and followed suit. He felt an even greater pain when the pet's power left his body, unable to suppress a grimace. He felt like his chest was burning, and even breathing was extremely uncomfortable. Looking at Grange, who had just stood up, Suo Ping said casually, "You may leave." The previous attack was something he was testing. He could heavily wound someone at the peak of the star state by combining the power of 4 laws and the power of faith on the bone saber. He didn't even go full out. After all, he could have merged with another pet, as he had only merged with the little skeleton with its innate skill. Both the white-robed young man and the woman looked at Suo Ping in shock. They could hardly accept that he had wounded Grange like that. Even though their senior was only at the beginning phase of the star state, he had a terrifying battle pet that could defeat most people in the mid-phase of the star state. Alas, he had been quickly defeated by Suo Ping nonetheless. Is this young man at the peak of the star state? If so, our student really deserved to be killed. How should she not be killed after offending someone who was close to becoming a Star Lord? Grange gritted his teeth and glared at Suo Ping with fiery eyes. However, he didn't say anything back in the end. There was nothing he could say about his failure. Furthermore, there was a 90% chance that a Star Lord was behind that young man. Don't let me find an opportunity to get back at you. He secretly gritted his teeth. It was better not to utter such a declaration in public, lest the enemy be warned. Maliciousness should be well hidden. As the old saying went, real secrets shouldn't even be confessed to the gods. Let's go. The white-robed young man looked at Suo Ping and escaped into the secondary space, taking Grange away along with the woman. The customers outside of the shop modestly cheered in low voices after they left. Suo Ping looked at the crowd in silence. He returned to the shop and asked Tang Ruin to close the door. Suo Ping reflected on the recent battle once he entered the store. He had learned the horrors of the power of faith from the earlier battle. He probably wouldn't have beat the guy with just the power of 4 laws he had grasped. According to Joanna, Star State experts who had grasped 3 laws were at the top of the beginning phase, and those who grasped 4 laws were in the middle phase. Those who grasped 7 laws were in the advanced phase of the star state. Those who grasped 9 laws were at the peak. Those who fully comprehended 10 laws and combined them were at the very top of the star state. They had a chance to make a breakthrough and become Star Lords, to then be able to construct their own worlds to absorb the power of faith. In addition, there was another case, the cultivators who worked on 1 law. Those who took that path focused on and devoted themselves to 1 law. Halfway through the complete understanding of the law, this would result in something as powerful as attaining 3 laws, and they were considered to be in the mid-phase of the star state. Understanding most of the law would produce results as powerful as attaining 7 or 8 laws, and they were considered to be in the advanced phase of the star state. They would be able to establish their own worlds and become Star Lords when they ultimately grasped the law. Suo Ping had looked into it using the Lord badge. About 20% of the current star state cultivators practiced multiple laws, while 80% of them practiced 1 law in the Federation. Although it was harder to focus on 1 law, the odds of becoming a Star Lord were higher that way. That was the conclusion of the top experts, and common sense, in all the Federation. While it was harder to dig into the deepest level of a law, as long as you kept digging and learned, you would certainly be able to establish a world of your own. Multiple laws were different. Firstly, one might get distracted when studying multiple fields. It isn't easy to grasp laws, there was a need to study hard and put in a tremendous effort. Furthermore, when someone did grasp 10 laws in the end, there was still the complication of comprehending and combining them. If they couldn't be combined, you would have to keep studying. Even the star state experts had a limited longevity, each law might involve hundreds of years' worth of pondering. Also, even if the laws were combined, none would be certain about what path they had grasped, or what unknown elements it contained. There weren't clear recipes, not even in the Federation, you would have to explore on your own. However, it was said that some of the major forces had their secret recipes, which were their core secrets. They were just like the secret recipes to make delicious food. Suiping had mastered 4 laws, God of Lightning and the Law of Space were more powerful than Annihilation and Boom. However, he only had a combat ability in the mid-phase of the star state. If he merged with his pets, he would be able to unleash the power of almost 8 laws. After all, he could make use of the laws his pets had grasped, even if he already had them. If he merged with 2 pets, he was able to fight against peak star state warriors. The experts of such rank also had the option of merging with a pet, and their outburst would become as powerful as Suiping's dual merging. Suiping had defeated his opponent mainly because of the power of faith attached to the bone saber, which was greater and heavier than astral power. If astral power was missed, the power of faith would be steel. The 2 kinds of energies were on completely different levels. That was also the reason why Star Lords were able to kill Star State experts so easily. Unfortunately, even though I can resurrect infinitely, I can't get any power of faith in the cultivation sites. I'm much weaker than them. If I had some, I would have been even stronger, Suiping thought. You found the power of faith. Joanna moved closer. She had already noticed the power of faith inside the little skeleton, and was slightly surprised. She found that Suiping was more and more enigmatic. Only by chance. I'm surprised to see you have a container for it. That bone seems rather unusual. I don't know anything about it, I picked it up next to an ancient beast. Speaking of which, do you have any items that can collect the power of faith? Or do I have to collect it in the world that I built? The items able to store the power of faith are extremely rare and precious. My original self has some Star Lord weapons, but you're not able to use them yet, said Joanna straight off, as if she had seen through Suiping. Suiping raised his eyebrows and looked at her, knowing that she would never lie to him because of pettiness. So to speak, there's no other way. Joanna shook her head and said, there is, but it's too complicated for me to explain it to you. Maybe you'll find a solution in the future, but there's nothing I can do right now. She knew that there was a powerful and mysterious being behind Suiping's back, she didn't have to offer any advice as things were. Suiping didn't know what to say after hearing that. He had to give up. I'll just check the system shop for this week. Suiping displayed the system shop, a process that had been disrupted by the 3 aggressors. There were still items available, just as usual, the special grade beast catching ring was among them. The second item was named Condensed Blood Dragon Crystal. Its price was 92 million energy points. Description: the dragon's and undead pet's favorite treasure. It contains an ultimate power which can perfect their bloodlines. It's even more expensive than the Thunder Ocean fruit. Suiping was slightly surprised. He looked at the energy balance of his store. The recently flourishing business had already earned him 1.2 billion energy points over the past few days. It was already enough for him to upgrade the Chaos Spirit Pool, or the store itself once again. However, Suiping wasn't in a rush to upgrade the store. For sure, more functions and permissions would be made available after the upgrade, but his training abilities and level were too low at the moment. Even if he was allowed to train Star State pets in the shop, he would be incapable of doing so. He would also become poor again if he upgraded the store. As for the Chaos Spirit Pool, it should be upgraded. A level 5 Chaos Spirit Pool had a small chance of breeding star state pets. Every breeding session would cost 100 million energy points, which equaled 10 billion astral coins. A star state pet was worth much more than 10 billion on the market, they could easily be sold for 1 trillion. More importantly, once the level of the Chaos Spirit Pool was improved, the lower limit of the pets it bred would also be improved. Battle pets bred by a level 5 Chaos Spirit Pool would have mid-level aptitudes at the very least. Considering the system's personality, the inferior star state pets would probably be sold so cheaply that not even the breeding costs could be covered. However, if they at least had mid-level aptitudes, every star state pet would produce an income of tens of millions of energy points. I'll buy the condensed blood dragon crystal first. Sui Ping simply paid for the special grade beast catching ring and the condensed blood dragon crystal. Sui Ping stored the beast catching ring for the moment. The condensed blood dragon crystal which had already been delivered to his inventory was a golden crystal with bloody veins on the surface. Sui Ping considered for a moment and decided to strengthen his best pet for now. The little skeleton was still the choice for the best resources. Eat it. Sui Ping threw the crystal to the little skeleton. Joanna was stunned to see the condensed blood dragon crystal that Sui Ping had suddenly taken out. She could tell that the crystal was extraordinary, it contained the refined aura of ancient dragons. It was definitely a special treasure. And yet, Sui Ping had taken it out so casually, to later give it to the little skeleton. This guy is so rich, and yet he dares to take advantage of me all the time. Joanna instantly became angry. The more she thought about it, the angrier she became. Sui Ping then looked at the third item, which was a drop of feather blood from an ancient phoenix. Its price was 210 million energy points. Sui Ping was shocked by the price. Even 100 million energy points was already an unaffordable price for him in the past. And yet, this item went for 210 million? Sui Ping read the description. It contains blood of Ascendant State Retribution Phoenixes. The Ascendant State creatures were as strong as Joanna's original self, or the Ascendant State experts in the Federation. They were still too far away from Sui Ping at this moment. Their techniques were as marvelous as those of the Creator himself. They could make use of powers on a deeper level. Sui Ping had heard about the techniques exclusive to those in the Ascendant State. Owning laws was just one of the most fundamental abilities. It had to be noted that they owned the laws, they weren't just harnessing them. In addition, Ascendant State experts were almost immortal. As long as they took one more step forward, they would become true immortals and live forever, like the 4 superior gods in the demigod burial. Joanna's original self hadn't reached that level yet, which was why she had to reincarnate and lengthen her longevity with some secret techniques. I had never heard about retribution phoenixes, but phoenixes in general have always been supreme birds. Those retribution phoenixes must be a branch of the early phoenixes, Sui Ping thought. He gazed at the feather for a long time. He eventually gritted his teeth and bought it. Even though it was very expensive, it contained blood of the Ascendant State Phoenixes anyway. Sui Ping knew the system very well, the item had to have extraordinary effects deserving of such a price. Very soon, the 3 items in the shop were bought. Sui Ping found the feather in the system space. The intense aura of the phoenixes was spread in the shop when he took it out, and infinite light radiated from the feather, illuminating and reddening Sui Ping's cheeks. Sui Ping felt as if the air he was breathing had also become hot. Every barb on the feather contained divine power, making it look brilliant. Sui Ping had the feeling that, if it was dropped outside of the shop, the feather would have been destructive enough to cut through the void and make an opening to the 4th space. If it was crafted into a weapon, it could even chop the stars apart. The aura of the Ascendant State. Sui Ping's eyes flashed. He had seen people in the Ascendant State before, but he was even more awed by them as he cultivated and broke through to higher levels. He was like an ant in the past, even though he had seen those great beings, he was unable to detect how horrifying they were. Sometimes, the more knowledgeable would become the most timid. This is... Joanna looked at the feather that was floating in front of Suaping with shock in her eyes. She was already jealous enough after seeing the treasure containing a ghastly dragon aura. The man still had an ascendant state phoenix feather to top it off. She had keenly recognized how extraordinary the feather was. It was a feather of an ascendant state phoenix. How could such a phoenix have dropped a feather that easily? Generally speaking, they would only abandon the inferior feathers to be replaced with better ones. However, Suaping's feather contained a magnificent aura. It wasn't a simple feather, it was possibly a carefully refined crown feather from a phoenix's head. That phoenix was as strong as her original self. The feather of a retribution phoenix, Suaping simply replied. He was also intimidated by the brilliant feather, but recovered his cool demeanor soon enough. He seized the feather, returned to the lab and shut the door. Then, fierce golden flames erupted from his body. Those were golden crow flames. Suaping was already half a golden crow after reaching the second level of the solar bulwark. His body was as hard as those at the peak of the fate state. It was then that Suaping stabbed the feather in his chest. The tip of the feather touched the edge of his heart, causing an excruciating pain. The feather had cut through Suaping's chest like a sharp blade, connecting with Suaping's heart. While enduring the pain, Suaping's heart made a quick constriction and absorbed all the blood in his body, before it attracted the phoenix blood in the feather and pulled it to enter his body. Soon after, Suaping felt that a scorching energy was flowing out of the phoenix feather and entering his heart like fire. Then, the scorching feeling was spread out to all his limbs along with his blood. Suaping felt as if he were being burnt. The pain was insufferable. However, he was already used to extreme pain. He gritted his teeth and stared ahead. He focused his attention on something else to reduce the pain his body felt. Suaping's golden crow flames were no longer purely gold but had a hint of redness. They seemed to be even more powerful. Suaping felt that his entire body was being completely burned. Once the heat reached the maximum level deep inside his brain and his soul, the loudest phoenix shriek resounded. The shriek, like a dagger of light that was cutting darkness apart, woke him up from the agony. Then, he sensed that some ancient information was being poured into his head. Retribution fire, one that could burn anything. Emerging on Suaping's back, the flames turned into a pair of gigantic phoenix wings that had mobility. The temperature in the lab had reached a whopping 8,000 degrees, even higher than that on the surface of the sun. A mass of dark, dirty flames flew out and struck the wall, disappearing into nothingness. Although nothing was destroyed, Suaping was able to feel the fire's horrifying power. It contained the power of multiple laws, however, the laws were quite vague, seeming to be like molten pieces rather than complete laws. Still, they were unimaginably powerful after they were perfectly combined. Is this the retribution fire, the secret technique that the retribution phoenixes passed to their descendants? Suaping mumbled with golden flames fluttering in his eyes. That secret technique was as powerful as the sword technique he had developed on his own. It might be even more powerful. It was because Suaping hadn't fully combined the power of 4 laws in the sword technique yet, but the recent combination was immaculate. With a thought, Suaping made all the flames enter his body again. The feeling of being burned was already gone. He couldn't have felt more exhilarated at that moment. It almost felt like he had just taken off his clothes and his skin was breathing heavily. Suaping lowered his head, only to find that his skin was smooth and flawless, better than most girls'. However, there were sturdy muscles under the seemingly delicate skin. Suaping was able to see the golden brilliance within through his own pores, which was the astral power and divine power in his body. Suaping felt that the astral power was flowing faster. This meant that his attack would be twice as fast. My body seems to have been refined. Have the impurities in my body been burned to ashes? Suaping touched his arm and felt that it was stronger and sturdier than before. My solar bulwark has changed a little bit too. The power of the retribution phoenix seems to have been swallowed by the solar bulwark. After all, the golden crows were much stronger than the retribution phoenixes. My golden crow seems stronger than normal golden crows. It's been polished. Su Ping thought. He felt as if his physical strength were already as good as that of the star state. The power of laws was coursing underneath his skin. They were the melting laws in the retribution phoenix's feather, which were scattered in his body like nutrition. He had been unable to gather the laws, because they had already been digested and had become waste. However, the waste inside his body could still resist attacks. The system didn't rip me off. Su Ping took a breath of relief. The item was expensive, but its price was worth it. He wasn't a greedy man, money was earned to be spent. Strengthening oneself was what mattered. He could always earn more energy after it was used up. Once I reach the Fate state, I'll be able to upgrade my store and train star state pets, Su Ping thought. He had just reached the void state by breaking the bottleneck and building a bridge with the cutting law of the space class. Normal Fate state people had to gain a deeper understanding of space, to then strengthen and heighten the bridge. When the bridge was high enough for them to touch the wall of the world inside their bodies, they would have the possibility to reach the peak of the Fate state. Once they broke the wall and mastered laws, they would then reach the star state. As for Su Ping, his understanding of space was much higher than theirs. As long as he were willing to, he could break through to the Fate state or even the star state at that moment. After all, it would be easy for him to break the wall in his body, using the power of multiple laws he knew. But Su Ping wasn't hasty. He had benefited a lot from a longer accumulation in the ocean state and the void state. Although he was only in the void state, his bridge was even harder and indestructible than those in the Fate state, which allowed him to carry more astral power and give a stronger outburst. If other people's bridges were able to carry 10 tons of astral power, Su Ping was able to carry 1,000. Su Ping hoped to build a high enough bridge to reach the wall while ensuring they had the same quality. He didn't want to speed up the project, which would have wasted the foundation he had built so carefully. I should accumulate more energy now. The student from the huge Mia Academy had a lot of astral crystals in her storage. The young master of the Rein family was also rich. They should be able to give me enough energy, Su Ping thought. It would be even better if he could master 1 or 2 more laws while accumulating energy. His bridge would be harder that way. However, Su Ping knew it wasn't going to be easy. After all, it was never easy to grasp the power of laws. To build a bridge with the law of space was already quite unusual in that world. In addition, although the little skeleton wasn't leaking much aura and was quite self-contained, it carried an intimidating aura, looking like a king peering down at its subjects. Su Ping was slightly surprised. Was this caused by the condensed blood dragon crystal? He used the pet identification skill on the little skeleton and found that its combat ability had increased by more than 50 points, it had essentially grasped a new law. It also had a new bloodline ability. Dragon Demon Bone Shield, transform dragon bones into a shield with the power of the Bone Demon. Can be used in the merged state. It turned out to be a defensive bloodline ability. It can also be used when it's attached to me? If that's the case, I can have the little skeleton take over my defense when I battle, Su Ping thought. Although he preferred offensive abilities, defense was necessary under certain circumstances. Su Ping looked at the little skeleton and noticed the changes in its bones, which seemed to contain a dragon aura. There were also scales on some of the bones. The scales were even more obvious at the finger bones. Su Ping petted the little skeleton and asked with a smile, "How do you feel?" The little skeleton gazed at Su Ping in silence for half a minute, before it slightly opened its mouth. "Good. You can talk now." Su Ping was surprised to see his bony pet talk, in the local tongue. The little skeleton had a great power of understanding. After all, it had been in the nursing pen all the time. Even though it was just a lowly skeleton at the beginning, it had grown to become an ultimate pet. However, it never seemed too good at talking. "Great, I'll ask the dog and the dragon to teach you how to talk." "Okay." Su Ping smiled, choosing not to stay any longer. He left for the void debris with his pets as well as some of the customers. He went to that place again because he wanted to gain more experience before he reached the fate state. If he was able to perceive one more law of space, his bridge would become more solid and his combat ability would be doubled. In the void debris of Void, Suaping looked for beasts to test his combat ability. Having just absorbed the Retribution Phoenix's feather, Suaping knew that he was stronger, but he didn't know exactly how strong he was when he merged with the little skeleton and the dark dragon hound. Inside the fourth space, Suaping rushed unstoppably as if he were roaming on a continent. Occasionally when he ran into the chaotic power of laws in the void, Suaping captured it in time. That was a benefit related to the laws of space. He wouldn't have been as sensitive if he would have grasped another law. He searched and fought on the way. When he encountered cracks, he simply broke in and fought in the deeper fifth space. While he was there, even Suaping had to tread carefully in spite of his understanding of space. He may get injured or even killed if he was careless. Also, the most dangerous thing here was the vague whispers of ancient creatures. Those words were left by ancient, ascendant state creatures, or even stronger, in other times and spaces. Their bodies were immortal, and their words contained extraordinary power that couldn't be worn out by time. The words were saved in that deep space. Such words contained the mental power of those ancient creatures, which could be alluring. They could easily drive people crazy. Fortunately, Suaping had great willpower. He simply broke free whenever he ran into formidable enemies. After going through all the practices, Suaping ended up with a better understanding of his combat ability. The next day, Suaping returned to his shop. It was business as usual in the morning. However, the city preliminaries would be held on that day and his pets would have to participate. Suaping didn't close the shop. He simply asked Joanna and Tang Ruin to take care of things. Even if Tang Ruin was unable to deal with the customers, she could still work as a supporter while Joanna supervised the shop. Suaping arrived at the field of the preliminaries and reported the little skeleton's name. All the referees then jumped from their chairs in awe and greeted Suaping respectfully. The news of the previous day had been spread out, and the mayor had already issued instructions for them. None dared to be disrespectful. This little skeleton's master is the Star State boss who defeated a Star State expert from the Humia Academy, making him vomit blood. How could we dare offend him? Not just them, even O'Neill, the most powerful man on Rhea, had to treat Suaping courteously. Suaping was at a loss for words since he had been seen through quite easily. He finally remembered that the little skeleton had been exposed the previous day. Fine. I'll simply reveal myself and resume my original appearance. The rule is that every pet will fight random opponents, right? Hearing the exclamations around them, Suaping gave a bitter smile and asked, "When will my match begin?" "Right now," said one of the referees obstreperously. "The game will start whenever you want it to start." Suaping's lips twitched when he saw the guy's attitude. He confirmed yet again that those who were strong enough could change the rules. Suaping didn't intend to break the rules. He waited patiently. The match began soon after. The little skeleton and the dark dragon hound were summoned. From Suaping's perspective, the city preliminaries were just sort of a formality. However, what happened later gave Suaping a better understanding of formality. The opponents to contend against the little skeleton and the dark dragon hound simply forfeited the games. As a result, they left the arena after wandering for a moment. Later on, the dark dragon hound and the little skeleton ran into each other and would have to fight. Suaping simply had the dark dragon hound give up. It was unnecessary for them to fight, as they had fought enough in the cultivation sites and the dark dragon hound was definitely unable to beat the little skeleton. A fight would be a waste of time and energy for them. Besides, even if they were to fight, the audience would not have the chance to see their performance, because their battle would have definitely extended to the tertiary space. Very few battle pets had passed the screening phase to begin with, and many contestants decided to forfeit. So, the preliminaries would probably be completed within one day, when they usually took a week. Suaping yawned while he waited, it was quite boring for him to watch other pets fight. To be more specific, the battles of those pets were quite juvenile as they were. Suaping even saw a few pets he had trained, but he wasn't very satisfied with their performance. He felt he should conduct a pertinent and more thorough training if he ever met those pets again. Those pets had already been trained by me anyway. How could they be so lame? However, while Suaping was dissatisfied, the audience was exclaiming and cheering. They were regretful that they didn't get to see Suaping's pets fight, but the fierce battles of some of the other pets were quite spectacular. Bored out of his skull, Suaping went to see a referee and said, "I won't come tomorrow if nobody challenges my pets. You can simply report my name. How does it sound?" The referee was a fate-state old man. He was stunned to hear that. If anyone else would have said that, he would have slapped them in the face. Just who do you think you are? However, Suaping was the one who said it. Yes, of course, he crossed his hands and said humbly and respectfully, "You don't have to come to such trivial games, senior. I don't think anyone would dare to challenge your pets." "Okay." Suaping nodded and then returned with the little skeleton and his other pets. Suaping returned to the shop, then saw Tang Ruin and Joanna who were still greeting customers. Tang Ruin looked at him in surprise after noticing that Suaping had returned a bit too quickly. "It's over already." "No, I returned in advance." "Is it too boring?" "Haha." Tang Ruin was able to piece the situation together based on Suaping's expressions. She couldn't help but laugh. Suaping rolled his eyes and was about to replace her, when he suddenly received a message via the Lord badge. He quickly viewed the message. "Esteemed Lord of the Blue Planet, you have a notification from your Battle Alliance." Battle Alliance? Is it the alliance of stars that was made of battle pets? Open it. Soon after, the image of a hazy person appeared in Suaping's mind. The person seemed to be slim and roughly 1.6 meters tall. A soft voice that pretended to be cold and condescending gave out an order. "All members of this alliance, listen to my command. Gather on the Red Fire planet in Zero Prun at 9 in the evening on the 18th. This alliance is determined to claim the divine residence. All members have to be present. Those who defy my orders shall be expelled. You may ask for leave in advance if you have special circumstances." Suaping was rather surprised. The divine residence? Is it the one that O'Neill mentioned earlier? The Alliance of Stars is going to participate as a group in that excursion? His consciousness instantly sank into the stars. The mists around him looked like clouds and were rather impressive. Hardly had Suaping appeared on his spot when he heard heated discussions. He saw that almost all the seats around the table had been taken. The chairs of the leader and the deputy had been occupied too at the front of the table. To Suaping's surprise, while the person on the leader's chair was covered in a mist, her body figure could vaguely be seen. She seemed to be a short girl who was issuing an order. The deputy next to her turned out to be a tall and muscular male. Did the leader just personally give an order? Is she a Star Lord? I've heard about this divine residence. The secret investigation report refers to it as an ultra-S mysterious realm with legacies of ancient deities. I heard that even the Ascendant State experts are going there. Is it true? Are we really joining the competition? If any Ascendant goes there, will we really get a share? You're a fool. Everybody gets a share in ownerless mysterious realms, not only those who arrive there first. Since our leader is commanding us to go there, she must have already made deals with other people so we can have a share of the loot. An ultra-S mysterious realm. I can't even imagine what's in there. It's a treasure trove that even Ascendant State experts would fight over. What are you scared of? Our leader is invincible. Even the Ascendant State experts have to show her some respect. Suaping sat on his chair while covered in mist. He slightly raised his eyebrows when he heard the discussions. An ultra-S mysterious realm? He quickly searched with his Lord badge and soon found related information. Generally speaking, only places with legacies left by Ascendants can be rated as ultra-S mysterious realms. Therefore, the master of that divine residence was at least an ascendant expert, based on the current investigation. Those guys seem to have their own sources of information. It seems that I don't have as many sources. No, I don't have any sources whatsoever. Su Ping thought and shook his head. Intelligence networks and information sources had to be built with hard work. He only had the time and energy for his shop. Maybe he needed to find trustworthy people to establish intelligence sources of his own. For example, the old customers and acquaintances from the blue planet. At this moment, a cute yet cold voice was heard. "Everybody, be quiet." All the discussions died down, and everybody raised their heads to look at the hazy, petite person in the front. "Gather on time tomorrow. I will share detailed intelligence in regards to that divine residence after we arrive," said the petite leader indifferently. "I don't want anything to be leaked. Please keep it a secret." A few men opened their mouths and chimed in respectfully. "It's truly wise of you, leader." "You're absolutely right, leader." "Leader, you've taken everything into consideration." Su Ping grimaced while still in his seat. Their flattery was even more blatant and unbelievable than the little skeletons. "I'm fully aware of your concerns," continued the leader calmly in her cute voice. "However, the Alliance of Stars will take a share, our share of the loot. There's no doubt about that." "Yes, ma'am," everybody said, although they had different expressions. Su Ping was also curious about the leader's confident declaration, but he wasn't a Star Lord yet, so he didn't know their power. He also didn't know if any Ascendant State experts were heading to the Divine Residence. Maybe it was just a rumor. "Let's call it a day. Be prepared before you come back," said the leader. Everybody accepted the order and left. Su Ping also left the virtual world when he saw their actions. Everybody left the group chat except the leader and her deputy. "Miss, are you really going to participate in the adventure? It's an unknown place anyway." "Isn't it too dangerous?" said the deputy, who addressed her in a surprising way. He sounded quite old, too. The mist around the petite person on the leader's chair was dispersed, revealing a cute and pretty face that evinced pride. She said, "Uncle Amba, I've been through all kinds of danger as I've cultivated, this is nothing. Isn't there an old saying that says nothing ventured, nothing gained?" "Miss, I don't think that saying applies to this situation. Besides, you have indeed been through many kinds of danger, but always under his lordship's control. They may be dangerous to you, but they're actually controllable. It's different this time. It is an ultra-S mysterious realm and we haven't gathered enough intelligence. This could even be a divine mysterious realm," the deputy tried to persuade her with a bitter smile. "You're overthinking. We'll be kicked out if it does turn out to be a divine mysterious realm. Those ascendants would go nuts over it. But, hey, Uncle Amba, I know what I'm doing. Besides, even if I'm caught in danger, I can always escape. My father gave me a lot of treasures." Su Ping's consciousness retreated and went back to the shop. He thought for a moment and decided to go there to take a look. He could leave all business matters to Tang Ruin and Joanna, and have the dummy trainers do the normal training. As for the professional training, he could do it after he returned. After all, pet training usually took months, if not years. His training was already much faster than the average. He would have plenty of time as long as he told the customers in advance. Su Ping received a call right then. He picked up his phone and found it was a strange number. He hung up. Beep. Soon after, the same number called again. Raising his eyebrows, Su Ping decided to accept the call. "Hello, is this Senior Su?" The face which surfaced on his phone belonged to none other than O'Neill. "It's you," Su Ping said. "What's up? You've just learned about the divine residence in the Alliance, right? We're supposed to gather on the Red Fire planet tomorrow. Should we go there together?" said O'Neill with a friendly smile. He didn't look like a man whose grandson had been killed by Su Ping, at all. Su Ping had mixed feelings because of it. Is it true that killing a mere grandson is nothing? That'd be great. It just so happens that I don't know how to get there. Su Ping gladly accepted the request. Okay, Senior Su. Please take care of me in the mysterious realm, said O'Neill with an awkward smile. Su Ping nodded. You too. Let's take care of each other. Yes, of course. Su Ping replaced Tang Ruin and received the customers after hanging up the phone. An hour passed, all the openings had been occupied. Su Ping closed the shop but didn't take any rest, he simply went to the cultivation sites with his pets. Su Ping fought his way forward in the void debris. He was becoming increasingly familiar with the law of cutting. He also gained some understanding of other laws of space, his strength was increasing as a result. The next day. In the morning soon after Su Ping returned to his store, O'Neill went to the store to pick him up. Aren't we supposed to gather at night? We'll arrive at night on the Red Fire planet if we leave right now, said O'Neill with an awkward smile, while he was inwardly surprised that Su Ping didn't know that. Is he a stranger to Zirupran? He looked at Su Ping's face and found that he didn't look like one of Zirupran's natives. Well, Su Ping finally remembered the time difference. He felt lucky he was going with O'Neill, or he wouldn't have set off until the afternoon. Wait a moment. Su Ping turned around and asked Tang Ruin and Joanna to mind the shop. After leaving some instructions, Su Ping placed his pets into the summoning space and finally left with O'Neill. Senior Su, this way. There was a splendid spaceship with the Rein family emblem, 20,000 meters above Wofet City, in the midst of clouds. Su Ping entered the spaceship after Onal's beckoning. The spaceship was quite luxurious, with a massive living room. Su Ping sat down on a couch next to O'Neill. He asked curiously. How long will the trip take? O'Neill said with a smile, considering the time on Rhea, it will be an hour. That's not too long. Su Ping nodded. The spaceship had already been activated. He didn't feel anything except for some shaking at the moment of activation. It was so steady it felt as if it were on the ground. However, the scenery outside the spaceship was changing quickly. The clouds were soon gone, and the stars could be seen. Senior Su, would you like some tequila? It's one of the finest. No, thank you. What would you like to drink then? I have everything here. Maybe some northwestern wind. Nothing. It's just a mim. A mim. Well, it's just something fun that you say. O'Neill was silent for a moment. Feeling that the atmosphere was getting awkward, he coughed and said, Senior Su, can I ask you to train my pets? Yes. Which kind of pets are you best at training? O'Neill grew interested when Su Ping accepted his request. He had never dared to ask earlier because he was afraid that Su Ping would decline him. After all, a Grandmaster trainer would never rush into action that easily. As for the pets in Su Ping's shop, he was obviously training them just for fun. However, the request of a Star State expert would mean something else. Every kind, basically, said Su Ping. He wasn't picky about pet categories, the system had all sorts of cultivation sites. Besides, he didn't have to train pets in their corresponding environments. A fire class pet could still grasp a water skill if it were thrown into a world of water, as long as it was tortured enough. Every pet could be trained through torturing. If that wasn't possible, just torture it twice. Well, O'Neill felt that he had gone a bit overboard. Judging from his indifferent attitude, Su Ping was obviously unwilling to train pets for him. Is he still upset because of the previous offense? O'Neill was slightly angry. His own grandson had died, but he decided to let the matter rest and apologize. The guy seemed like an accessible fellow, although too petty in practice. My grandson died, but I'll let it pass. Though dissatisfied, O'Neill gave a courteous reply, Senior Su, you're truly awesome. Only a Grandmaster can train any kind of pet. He couldn't have mastered an entire planet without being sophisticated. Category is just a secondary factor. Training pets is just like fighting. You can train any pet as long as you are brutal enough, said Suaping. That was an already sincere reply. Suaping considered the incident with the Ryans as water under the bridge. Since the head of the family wasn't bothered by his grandson's death anymore, he wouldn't hold a grudge because of their offense, either. You're right, Senior Su, O'Neill nodded and said. He was somehow puzzled by Suaping's perplexing attitude. An hour passed quickly. The atmosphere in the spaceship cooled down after the conversation. Suaping finally had the time to appreciate the views outside the window. He saw a lot of planets flying by, they had different sizes, and all looked remarkable. Suaping had never thought that he would be able to see the universe that clearly. The spaceship approached a red planet soon after. It looked as red as the sun but without emitting any heat. The redness was only the color of plants that had the largest coverage on the planet. The spaceship passed the checkpoint in space and entered the atmosphere. The vessel then stopped in a cluster of clouds. O'Neill left the spaceship and asked his men to watch over it. After that, he led Suaping to a certain place. The Holy Light Palace was the headquarters of the most powerful organization on the Red Fire planet. The leader of that utterly powerful organization was respectfully standing outside of the Holy Light Palace to welcome esteemed guests. The new members of the organization were astonished. The master of the Holy Light Palace, who was as admirable as a star, was standing outside of the palace like a receptionist. Who are those people? Why is the palace master bowing to them? Oh my God, are they star state experts? Of course they are. Why else would our palace master be so odd? Outside the palace, Suaping and O'Neill arrived together. The master of the Holy Light Palace was at the peak of the Fate state, quite close to breaking through to the star state. Seeing Suaping and O'Neill, who openly released his star state aura, he quickly bowed and greeted them. Senior Su, after you. O'Neill gestured at Suaping. Having no time for such formalities, Suaping simply walked in the lead. The master of the Holy Light Palace was instantly appalled. The Star State fellow addressed this young man as senior. Is he a Star Lord? Suaping and O'Neill then entered the court of the Holy Light Palace. The place was spacious and beautiful, perfect for business and entertainment. The Star State men who had arrived earlier were in the company of gorgeous girls, whereas the women had a mixture of waiters and waitresses serving them. All of them had attractive looks. Suaping was deeply impressed by the delicious food and the extravagant details. If Star State experts set their minds to enjoy themselves, they could truly get anything they wanted. Brother Zeus! Brother Zeus, you're here. Have a seat. Who's he? This is Brother Heaven Destroyer, O'Neill introduced him with a smile. As they made their way over, he had asked for Suaping's nickname in the group. Both Suaping and O'Neill had changed their appearances. Some were too lazy to hide their true faces, but others chose not expose themselves. Some had even transformed their gender, which wasn't a complex thing to do for experts of that caliber. It even was an enjoyable experience for certain people. Suaping coughed and chatted with the members of the Alliance of Stars along with O'Neill. They had officially met in reality. Many of the members were quite friendly toward Suaping. After all, the purpose of joining the alliance was to expand their social circle, not to offend others. Many saw how close Suaping was to O'Neill. They had detected that Suaping was only a void state warrior, but ended up mistaking him for being in the beginning phase of the star state as O'Neill was. All of them thought highly of Suaping for his ability to conceal his strength. Those who had noticed Suaping weren't just O'Neill's friends, but also the experts in the middle and advanced phase of the star state. They were slightly surprised to see that Suaping was only a void state expert, not because his level was too low, but because they couldn't see him through. His disguising method was rather powerful. Many old men in the middle and advanced phase of the star state looked at Suaping solemnly. They even thought more highly of O'Neill, who came along with Suaping. Those in the middle phase of the star state thought that Suaping might be on par with them. Those in the advanced phase of the star state, however, thought that Suaping also had a similar rank as theirs. After all, they couldn't see through Suaping nor make any judgment recklessly. It was also quite rude to simply ask someone about their cultivation level, and no one would bother answering, either. It was like asking people about their wages at a party, it was like a slap in the face. Nobody would answer that honestly. After some small talk exchanges, Suaping had found that the Star State members of the Alliance of Stars had different factions. Those who were familiar with O'Neill were mostly in the beginning phase of the Star State. As for those in the middle phase, they were all chit-chatting with each other. 2 of the only 4 advanced Star State warriors were talking, the other 2 were sitting alone, while those in the middle and beginning phases greeted them. Hierarchy was truly everywhere. It did make sense, though. It was completely unnecessary for those in the mid-star state to make friends with the weaker warriors, unless they had rare resources. When Suaping was following O'Neill and meeting his friends, a middle-aged man suddenly came and said with a smile, "Brother Zeus, he must be the new member. I'm told that his name is Heaven-Destroying Celestial. That's an awesome name, the leader will definitely love it when she hears it." O'Neill and the 2 men next to him, named Demon Lord and Deity of 6 Realms respectively, were shocked to see the middle-aged man. They hurriedly bowed and said, "Senior Mighty Miracle God." The guy was a mid-star state expert, and had been in the Alliance of Stars longer than they did. Suaping nodded and greeted him. "Brother Zeus, do you have any more transcendence fruits? Can you give me some? I can exchange secret treasures for them, or take you to the zone of meteorites for training. How does it sound?" The senior nicknamed Mighty Miracle God glanced at Suaping, not saying anything else. "I might not be able to see you through, but so what? You can't be an advanced Star State warrior, or you wouldn't be hanging around with Zeus. So, you're probably in the beginning or the middle phase." He wasn't too passionate about making friends with someone of his own level. Most of the experts who had reached the Star State were the proud sort, they hardly praised others unless they were truly impressed. Transcendence fruits. Suaping narrowed his eyes after hearing that. O'Neill awkwardly coughed and said, "Senior, the transcendence fruits are very rare. I don't have any stock at the moment." The Mighty Miracle God raised his eyebrows and chuckled. "Get some for me. I'll give you returns that you won't regret." "I'll definitely try my best," said O'Neill quickly and sincerely. He actually had a few fruits available. However, as he said, they were extremely rare. Why would he give them away so easily? As for the exchange of items, the man didn't have what he needed. If he exposed that he did have some fruits, the man would probably offer to exchange for something of less value, and would get angry if he turned him down. "Please do," said the Mighty Miracle God thoughtfully. O'Neill quickly nodded. Suaping stood nearby while keeping silent. He would have believed O'Neill if he weren't from Rhea. After the Mighty Miracle God left, O'Neill turned around and looked at Suaping. They looked at each other and nodded. Then, O'Neill led Suaping to meet his other friends who were in the beginning phase of the Star State. He didn't tell anyone that Suaping was a Grandmaster trainer, and was quite relieved after seeing that Suaping didn't introduce himself as such. The fewer people knew of Suaping's identity, the more advantages he would have. Otherwise, everybody would be sucking up to him, even advanced Star State warriors. It would be harder for him to bond with Suaping under such circumstances. While everybody was talking, someone counted and found that almost everybody was present. Only the leader and the deputy had yet to arrive. Several minutes later, 2 people appeared in the Holy Light Palace. They were exactly the leader and the deputy, openly releasing an unworldly aura as if they were moving in deeper space. They seemed visible but intangible. Seeing the leader and the deputy who came last, Suaping put on a smile. "Are Big's Hots always the last to show up?" The leader had fully revealed herself. She looked exquisite and no older than 20, with round cheeks that made her rather cute. However, her face was quite cold, making her seem like a deity that never walked on earth. Next to her was a brawny middle-aged man who had a broad chest. There was the wisdom of age in his eyes, he looked like a determined man. "Are they all present?" "Yes, they are." Standing on the stairs, the girl looked around and said proudly, "Since you're all here, let's get down to business. The divine residence is about to be opened. According to my intelligence, 3 ascendant state experts have shown up and carved up a path to enter the divine residence." "Ascendant state experts? 3? Well, so, the rumor is true. The divine residence is truly an ultra-S mysterious realm that has attracted ascendant state experts. Tisk, tisk, doesn't it mean we came here for nothing?" Everybody whispered to each other inside the palace after hearing what the girl said. All the ascendant experts were all celebrities in the Federation, they were on the same level as the presidents of the 5 best academies. It was much harder for them to meet such figures, who were thousands of times more revered than emperors. No need to worry. That divine residence is extremely vast. The 3 ascendant states will only go after the ultimate treasures in the deepest level. The girl gracefully sat down on a chair and naturally crossed her legs. The middle and peripheral areas are too insignificant for the ascendant state experts. We can compete for treasures there. The girl said in a low voice, "We must thank the 3 ascendant state seniors for cracking the barriers of the divine residence. We can't enter the place as easily without them. We must express our gratitude to them if we meet them." Of course. The ascendant state experts are invincible in the entire universe. We all dream to reach such a realm. "Leader, you've found so much information. You're truly awesome. Leader, you're a genius on the verge of a breakthrough to the ascendant state. You will definitely reach higher levels in the future." Everybody in the palace accepted the order. Even the mid-star state experts who were too proud to talk to the likes of Suaping and O'Neill were obsequious to her. O'Neill and the others also praised her in unimaginable ways. Suaping wore a weird expression. He somehow felt he had mistakenly attended a motivational course. "Keep a low profile. You must not expose my identity so easily," said the girl, frowning. But there was a smile in her eyes, she obviously liked the treatment. Suaping was rendered speechless after seeing the obvious delight on her face. Just as he expected, the weird behavior in the group was caused by the leader herself. Star State fellows like O'Neill were sophisticated and cunning, that was why they blindly adulated her. Next to the girl, the brawny deputy stood quiet and indifferent. "Once we get to the divine residence, listen to my orders and don't act recklessly. You will hand over all of your loot and I'll take care of the distribution. Those who make contributions will be generously rewarded. Mark my words," the girl said casually. Everybody shouted their support. Right then, the deputy suddenly said in a low voice, "Leader, I think they're already starting." The girl was about to say something else, but stopped upon hearing that. She frowned and nodded sternly. The solemn expression on her young face made her look rather cute. The girl rose and made a decision. "Okay, let's go there first. We'll talk after we get there." Everybody wore a different expression. "Are we going to the divine residence?" The ascendant state Big Hots had opened the divine residence and were searching for the ultimate treasures deep inside. The items they didn't fancy were already precious enough for the others. Suaping looked at the girl and asked O'Neill in a low voice, "Brother Zeus, what's the name of our leader? How should we address her?" O'Neill said with admiration, "The leader's name might sound intimidating. She is the Divine Lady of the 9 Heavens. Her full name is Divine Lady who was born in 9 Heavens and 9 Earths, Master of Justice and the Cycle of Life." "Suaping, I'm so scared." "Keep your voice down. It's disrespectful to talk about the leader's full name," said the nearby deity of 6 realms with a determined tone. He was a fat middle-aged man. He didn't keep his voice down at all. Not only the Star State warriors, even those at the Ocean State could have easily heard him. After all, the palace wasn't too large, all their voices could be heard with ease, as long as they didn't deliberately keep it down. Suiping instantly noticed that the girl on the main seat glanced at them. She obviously looked satisfied to see the loyalty and respect reflected on the deity of Six Realms' face, even though her face was still cold. Suiping, let's go. The girl didn't seem to be interested in punishing them. While pretending that she hadn't heard a thing, she waved her hand and a void vortex appeared beside her. That vortex led to the fourth space. She had easily broken through multiple spatial layers. Is that the power of a Star Lord? The people down the stairs were shocked. Even those in the advanced phase of the star state were also shaken by this. The girl seemed to be satisfied when she noticed their reaction. She wore a gratified smile as she stepped into the vortex. The nearby deputy said as indifferently as a stone, "Keep up." The advanced star state warriors were the first to enter the vortex while he stood and watched. One by one, the others followed them. The early star state warriors, such as Suiping and O'Neill, went last. Is this the fourth space? We would have probably died immediately if we entered on our own. This is exactly the magnificent power of our leader, someone praised their leader again. Admittedly, while the girl was rather vain, she did have a horrifying power. Suiping and O'Neill stepped into the vortex together soon after. Right past the vortex, a void channel had been established to block the chaotic torrents roaming in the fourth space. The channel wasn't too long. They walked out through another vortex. There was a space outside the other vortex. The group found itself in a vacuum, subject to powerful cosmic radiation. Ordinary people would have suffocated, and their skins would have cracked at a fast pace. However, everyone was a star state warrior, except for Suiping. They were able to manage the cosmic radiation with ease. They could also live off of the energy inside their cells without taking in oxygen. They could also make use of the power of laws and create a space where they could talk. Still, nobody talked. Telepathic communication was more convenient, they didn't even have to open their mouths. Suiping had a lower cultivation rank, but his body was as strong as that of the star state. He floated in space without being affected in the slightest. There were plenty of people besides Suiping and the other members of the Alliance of Stars, as well as space warships, spacecraft carriers, and other military weapons which had surrounded the area. Only a Star Lord could have cut into the fourth space and led them directly into the circle with such ease. Is this the divine residence? The members of the Alliance of Stars looked around and communicate telepathically. It truly is a divine residence. A deity must have lived here eons ago. This building looks old. It surely was built in the ancient times. Are the three ascendants already inside this divine residence? So many people have been attracted to this place. The people who had already gathered in that location noticed the new arrivals from the Alliance of Stars. When they saw the invincible and universe displayed on the clothes of some of the star state experts, they instantly realized that the new arrivals belonged to the Alliance of Stars, which was rather unique in Sylvie. Look, the Thousand Feathers Alliance is right there. Those sons of Chs are here too. Look over there, the people of the Uhuang Alliance is here too. It seems that a fierce battle is underway. What are you scared of? Our leader is here. All of them will be killed if they dare to offend us. They communicated with each other via telepathy. Once he heard that, Suiping looked around and saw two groups who had plenty of star state experts. There were even star lords in their armies. Do they have a history with us? Suiping asked O'Neill. O'Neill nodded and replied, yes. The Thousand Feathers Alliance is an old nemesis of ours. Many of our members have been ambushed by them before. Try to avoid them if you ever go to chaotic areas. Of course, there's no need to fear them right now since we came in numbers too. What about the other group? They once mocked our leader's title, and our leader killed many of their people. We've had a bad relationship with them ever since. Is it still possible for me to quit? Suiping was at a loss for words. He had hoped to expand his social circle and learn more secrets about the star state by joining the alliance, but as it turned out, he only made more enemies in the end. On the other side, the Star State members of the Huang Alliance wore grim expressions when they noticed their arrival. Then, mockery popped up in their eyes. The imbeciles from the Alliance of Stars are here. The Alliance of Stars was the weirdo among all the alliances. All their Star State members had strange nicknames, some of them outright insulting. Everybody knew the quirkiness of the Alliance of Stars. If it weren't for the Star Lord cultivation of both the leader and her deputy, they would have been destroyed because of their derisive nicknames a long time before. What a bunch of idiots! I wonder how they got to the Star State to begin with. Probably with their toes, because they don't have any brains. Never mind. Don't cause any trouble. The divine residence is about to open. We'll settle the scores with them later. Indeed. Looting resources in the divine residence is more important. An unowned Ultra-S mysterious realm is hard to come by. All the secret treasures overlooked by the Ascendants are still priceless for us. The Thousand Feathers Alliance is here too. We may have to cooperate with the Alliance of Stars if necessary. That's true. While the Alliance of Stars is a group of morons, they're still easier to deal with than the cunning foxes of the Thousand Feathers Alliance. The members of the Huang Alliance were also communicating via telepathy. While they despised the Alliance of Stars and shared a bitter history, it was still a good option in case they needed to join forces. Those idiots are here too. Just as we expected. The Huang Alliance and the Alliance of Stars have a history. Maybe a chance will pop up to provoke them to fight each other. That way we can take advantage and loot more treasures while they are distracted. That's right. The Huang Alliance is made of a bunch of retards too. They claim that you'll be luckier if you join them. That's hilarious. Who can argue against this claim? Does any idiot on our level believe in luck? It's effort what really matters. What can you achieve with nothing but luck? They're just two groups of idiots. All the members of the Thousand Feathers Alliance all looked at the Alliance of Stars and the Huang Alliance with a vague disdain. Apart from them, there were other alliances. However, other alliances had little interaction with the Alliance of Stars in the past, and only considered it as another competitor when it arrived. It was just the same as any other competing alliances to them. Besides the alliances, even more rogue experts showed up. There were also Fate State people who stood behind others, knowing that they could only fight for the leftovers. They would be easily killed if they went to compete with the alliances. The alliances didn't do anything to the Fate State guys. It was just like how the three Ascendants were only interested in the best treasures deep inside the divine residence. After all, the three Ascendants were also competitors. If any of them looted the cheap treasures, the others could get the better ones. That wouldn't be a good deal. The case was the same for the Star State experts. They weren't interested in the garbage that Fate State experts were attracted to, and they would kill them if they dared to compete for what was valuable. Why didn't they clear the Fate State guys from the area? The reason was simple. First of all, murder was forbidden according to Federation law, unless the victim had offended first. It was like how Suiping executed the sheltered grandson of the Rein family's leader, who committed acts of insubordination. Social hierarchy has a very important space in the federal law. Secondly, Fate State and Star State experts present had all sorts of forces behind them. It was quite complicated. Some of them were at the Fate State, but their fathers might have been at the Fate State or even Star Lords. If they were killed without a good reason, their murderer would be in trouble if their families got back. To clear the field, one would have to commit a massacre. No one was willing to do that. Ascendant State warriors didn't clear the field for their own reasons too. Some other warships and alliances showed up, after Suiping and his group arrived. There were also Star State individuals who ripped apart the void and jumped over. Half an hour later, an old man suddenly flew out of the vortex. He had a hunched back and white hair, eyebrows, and beard. With a smile, he said, "My master, General Polaris, said that this mysterious realm has been officially opened. You're all free to enter." General Polaris. Is he the one who returned from the expedition right at the border of the Federation? General Polaris is one of the 3 ascendants. Oh my god! Lord Polaris is so courteous. Not only did he lift the barriers for us, he even sent a guy to inform us that we could go in. Everybody was shocked to hear the name Polaris and began to discuss it amongst themselves. Some of them praised him blatantly. After all, nobody knew the methods of the ascendant state. Maybe those guys were also able to overhear the compliments. The girl suddenly said to the Alliance of Stars group with glittering eyes, "That is General Polaris's battle pet." Everybody in the Alliance of Stars was shocked to hear that. Is this Lord Polaris's battle pet? So, the guy has mastered the ability to metamorphose. Is this old man also an ascendant warrior? Someone asked. Everybody was shocked. Is that old man an ascendant state expert? Very likely. After all, most battle pet warriors would only sign pets of their own level. If the star state used the fate state pets in, the pets would be killed the moment they were deployed. They only used the lesser pets to watch over their homes, or for other errands when the star state pets were temporarily unavailable. The old man looked around and said with a smile, "The barriers inside this divine residence have been removed, but there are still traps and lethal arrays in the dangerous places guarding treasures. It's very risky for you to go there. Please take care." There was no telling what power he used, but his lips were moving and his voice was spread to everybody's ears in the vacuum of the universe. Such a power was beyond their imagination. After that, the old man slowly turned around and suddenly transformed into a gigantic, aggressive dragon that slithered into the vortex. The horrifying aura it released swept the place like a tornado, making the Fate State battle pet warriors on the spaceships and warships grow pale. Everyone at the spot was shocked when the old man revealed his true self and left. Right after he disappeared, someone instantly took action and led their companions into the vortex. "Damn it, let's go there too. Come on, hurry up." All the other people followed. The warships and spacecraft carriers at the edge didn't dare to move just yet, but their engines were already humming, ready to enter after the star state experts did. "Let's hurry up too." At the front, the young leader said quickly, "All of you, come to my world." She opened her hands, and an illusionary world of birds and flowers appeared around her. It was as beautiful as a fairyland. The deputy leader was the first to enter. He stood in the middle of the beautiful illusion. The other people quickly followed upon seeing that. Su Ping had seen the worlds that the Star Lords revealed, but they had belonged to beasts, all were desolate and harsh. Those worlds had cracked soil and erupting volcanoes, completely unsuitable for survival. Whoosh! Su Ping and O'Neill both entered the illusionary world. Su Ping felt that the cosmic radiation had been blocked while inside that world. The coldness of the vacuum disappeared too, the place was extremely warm. He could smell the fragrance of flowers and could also see springs, waterfalls, exotic birds, and beasts. Their leader suddenly moved after everybody entered her world, taking everybody into the vortex at a high speed. Humph! On the other side, the guys from the Thousand Feathers Alliance also took action. All of them entered one of their Star Lords' worlds before they jumped into the vortex, moving at dozens of times the speed of sound. The space inside the vortex was so turbulent that not even the Star Lords dared to use flash movements. If they did, they might accidentally step into the fifth space or even the sixth space. The sixth space was dangerous enough for Star Lords, they would hardly have the ability to return once they stepped into it. Nobody knew what was out there in the deep sixth space. Probably only Ascendants knew that. While in the girls' world, Su Ping and the others could see everything outside while they dashed quickly inside the vortex. The girl was obviously very fast. Just like a flying phoenix, she traversed 1,000 kilometers in the blink of an eye, thanks to an amazing technique. The ancient divine residence inside the vortex seemed to be close, but it was actually thousands of kilometers away. That vortex was as large as an entire continent. Several minutes later, the girl and the other Star Lords finally flew out of the vortex. In the world behind the vortex, an ancient divine residence stood in the middle of the illusionary clouds and appeared the same size. No matter how further they had pushed, it remained the same size and was covered in a mysterious power. Underneath the divine residence was a long corridor that was next to a lake of lotuses. It was more of a sea than a lake, as it was extremely vast. Many of the lotuses were blossoming. They were clearly unusual, their leaves were almost 8 meters in diameter. Vague energy was spreading from the blooming flowers, and the lotus seeds were golden, emitting a divine brilliance. Are they the ancient divine lotuses? Golden lotus seeds? They must be the relic lotuses, aren't they? Relic lotuses. Exactly. It's said that it takes 1,000 years for them to bloom, 1,000 years to bear fruit, and another 1,000 years to be enlightened. 3,000 years are required for the relic's lotus seeds to be born. They contain an unparalleled level of divine energy and can significantly increase your power of understanding. It can also refine your body. All in all, they're ultimate treasures. There's this many of them here. Seeing the lake of lotuses, everybody was shocked. The knowledgeable Star State warriors recognized the relic lotuses and were thrilled by such a find. Their trip would be rewarding enough if they could get them. Immediately after, someone stepped out and flew towards the lake. Loot them! It was then that a horrifying aura was swept out, and a hideous creature leaped from the bottom of the lake, opened its bloody mouth. The first person to reach the lotus lake was instantly bitten and dragged to the bottom of the lake. The other explorers who intended to fight for the treasures were horrified and quickly stopped. There's a monster in the lake. It's at least in the advanced phase of the star state. Oh my god, did they leave such a terrifying monster to watch over the lotuses? I noticed that it's impossible to will the lotuses toward us. There's a special law inside the lake that blocks my power. Many people tried to pull the lotuses with tricks, but all failed, somewhat losing their cool. The treasure was right in front of their eyes, yet they couldn't have it. Leader. Many people who were early and mid-star state members of the Alliance of Stars were beseeching their leader. Before the girl said anything, the deputy had said indifferently, "Let me have a try." After that, he immediately flew towards the lotus lake. A behemoth dashed from the bottom of the lake in response. It had cold, iron scales all over its body and sharp teeth in its mouth. The deputy snorted and raised his hand, slapping down the monster. A huge tide was raised, splashing everybody, but their astral shields prevented them from getting wet. The deputy then quickly picked the seeds inside the lake, defeating the incoming behemoths every now and then. The Star Lords of other alliances also took action. They also used quick moves to pick the seeds in the lake. They're just relics lotuses that only work for Star State experts. They would count as snacks for the Star Lords. The leader ignored the deputy who was picking the seeds and strode on. She was talking to Suiping and the others, with her usual condescension. Everybody was at a loss for words, as the girl described such treasures as worthless snacks. However, they had already witnessed the extravagance of their leader. The girl nicknamed Divine Lady of the Nine Heavens was said to be part of a powerful background. Was it possible that she did consider such treasures as snacks? What's wrong? Does the Alliance of Stars not want the lotus seeds? A young man in white flew close while the girl led Suiping and the others forward. His clothes weren't entirely white but had a silver thread at the edge. He looked graceful and attractive. Humph! What's it to you? Snapped the girl while glaring at him. The young man was the leader of the Thousand Feathers Alliance and had a history with her. They had met again. Ha! The young man sneered and then sprinted forward into the corridor. The lotuses here were already valuable enough. Who knew what was behind the corridor? He intended to find out. However, his expression changed the moment he entered the corridor, as the space in the corridor became chaotic and a strange power of laws was spreading out. He quickly snapped his fingers and launched a few streams of spiritual auras, destroying that strange power. Even this corridor contains a fatal trap. The young man was slightly cold. He would have been severely injured or even killed if he were merely at the star state. What a weakling! By then the girl had already led Suaping and the others into the corridor. She seemed to have seen it coming. An unusual power of faith surged from inside her body and blocked all the laws. The scene shocked everyone who had entered her inner world. Vain as the girl might be, she was truly strong. Nearby the young man coldly unleashed his power and caught up to the girl. Bloody battles were bursting out of the lake next to the corridor. Unlike the people from the alliances, the rogue Star State warriors didn't care that much. The trip would be worth it if they could take the relic lotuses away, even though beasts were lurking in the lake. Many of them were fighting the strange beasts in the lake, but their battles weren't as fierce as they were supposed to be. Since the power was restricted in that place, they weren't as destructive as they were in the outside world. The lake had been dyed due to all the bloodshed, and most of the lotus seeds had been picked. Those who had failed to acquire the seeds had dragged out the stems of the lotuses, hoping to sell them later. By then, the deputy leader had picked enough lotuses and caught up to the girl. There were another 7 or so people that were pressing forward with the girl besides the leader of the Thousand Feathers Alliance. All of them were Star Lords from other factions. What's that? Behind the corridor was a garden, but most flowers and grass in the garden had withered. There were only a few trees left. Everybody fixed their eyes upon the giant tree at the center of the lake. The tree was laden with fruits that emitted an ancient and sacred aura. Is this the tree of laws? Someone exclaimed in shock. Exactly. The old fruits even contain laws that are almost close to the truths. They can enable a breakthrough to the advanced phase of the star state. Such a legendary treasure has been placed right in front of the gate? No, it's not even in front of the gate. This is just a garden in front of the house. Oh my God, how rich was the master of this divine residence! I wonder what treasures are hidden further inside. They must be dazzling and unimaginable. All the people inside the small world were bursting with excitement. While the relic lotuses in the lake outside were also treasures, they weren't nearly as valuable as that tree of laws. The lotuses were only able to increase the power of understanding while in the star state, whereas the fruits of the tree could help in grasping laws directly. Every fruit contained a complete law. If they ate it, they could digest it for their own usage. Hearing the discussion, Suaping thought quickly, a tree of laws? I didn't know that such treasures existed. Ascendant state experts do have a lot of treasures. So, Anna is probably keeping a lot of the good treasures to herself. In a small store on Rhea, a beautiful woman who was busy at work shivered, feeling that her back was suddenly cold, as if she were being coveted. The tree of laws. This time it was the girl leading the alliance who became solemn. Although Star Lords didn't have to grasp more laws, the tree was still quite useful to them. The reason why the tree yielded law-imbued fruits was due to being an advanced item. The tree itself was made of a complete path. Even Star Lords could benefit from it if they refined and transformed it into the elements of the path. This is good stuff. I'll take it. Suddenly, a person dashed out at 100 times the speed of sound. It seemed as if he were using flash movements. If the space in the divine residence weren't restricted, making it impossible to flash, someone would have flashed to claim the tree. However, the movement was as fast as the flash. You want to take it? Have you asked for my permission yet? Someone snorted, and several streams of power burst out. Although only one man had talked, several guys had taken action. The great power of faith and the aura chain stopped the man's dash. The sneaking man showed a slight change in his expression, angrily coming to a stop. Whoosh! Once the man stopped, someone else ran at an even higher speed, hoping to steal the treasure. But the other Star Lords reacted quickly. 3 guys instantly took action and stopped him. The man who was stopped a moment earlier had also launched a condensed sword aura in fury, forcing the guy to stop. The guy would be slowed down if he intended to block the attacks, so simply opted to stop. If I can't take it, you think you can? The first man to be stopped was none other than the leader of Thousand Feathers Alliance, who glared at the second guy, who was the Star Lord from another alliance. Humph! Hearing that, the second guy snorted but didn't argue with him. There's only one tree of laws. If you all want it, how should we split it up? Said a brawny Star Lord with a majestic indifference. Humph! It has always been the case that whoever has the largest fists gets the treasures, declared a short and muscular middle-aged man. Hee hee. If that's the case, you'll be the first to be kicked out of the game. You don't have large fists anyway. The leader of the Uhuang Alliance chuckled. He appeared as a young man with a needle that looked like a toothpick in his mouth. He also had the fancy hairstyle of a hippie. Sui Ping glanced at the latter, who in turn noticed and looked back at him. He instantly became solemn and surprised when he saw that Sui Ping was just a void state warrior. He knew that the Alliance of Stars only accepted star state members, according to their rules. Sui Ping was hiding in someone else's world, which was something that the Star Lords were too proud to do. So, he could only be a star state powerhouse. Still, he hit his real level this well? Do you intend to get killed for saying that? Said the stout middle-aged man, enraged. Do you want to have a taste of my fists? On the other side, a manly female announced proudly, keep arguing. The Overlord's alliance is leaving, I'm not interested in this insignificant tree of laws. Her face was that of a beautiful girl, but she was solidly built and strong, with obvious muscles on her arms. There was an enormous saber on her back, even longer than herself. It was quite intimidating. After saying that, the woman led the members of her alliance to a trail not far off and left the garden. Another Star Lord laughed and followed the female overlord. Hee hee, please continue. I will also take my leave. If such valuable treasures were in the garden outside the divine residence, what shocking treasures would be hidden further inside? Besides, there were almost 10 Star Lords there, and none of them seemed to be willing to back down. If they joined the fight, getting the Tree of Laws was uncertain. Therefore, they chose to search for other treasures inside the residence. It would be idiotic if the other treasures were more valuable than the tree. Some of the other Star Lords thought the same. Not just them, 3 more decided to leave and venture further in. In the blink of an eye, only 4 alliances remained, the Alliance of Stars, the Uhuang Alliance, the Thousand Feathers Alliance and the Heavenly Fist Alliance behind the stout middle-aged man. Those sons of Bai *Ches are truly shameless. The stout middle-aged man, watching the other alliances leave, became angry and anxious. He was unwilling to abandon that Tree of Laws, but he didn't want to waste too much time on it either, or the treasures inside the residence would be taken away. Damn it, I'll take this tree. If there's anyone trying to compete with me, don't blame me for being merciless. The leader of the Thousand Feathers Alliance became cold and charged forward. Exactly at that moment, the leader of the Uhuang Alliance and the girl attacked quickly and stopped him. Even if you're merciless, so what? I'm already angry with you. This tree is mine, get the hell out of here or I will remove the seal on my right hand and kill all of you. The girl stepped forward with coldness and pride on her face. She laid her left hand on her right hand and was emitting a powerful aura. All the people inside her world were shocked to hear that, they exclaimed and cheered for her. Leader, you're the best. Leader, you're truly awesome. Who can possibly resist the goddess's arm? Who can? Who possibly can? Leader, conquer them with your right hand and show them the real godly power. Sui Ping didn't know what to say. He had a very pure divine power in his body, and his senses were keen when wielding divine power. He didn't detect divine power at all in the girl's right hand. Hidden goddess's right hand? You're probably being a snob again. While Sui Ping was at a loss for words, what the girl said intimidated the leaders of the Uhuang Alliance and the Heavenly Fist Alliance, who both turned their heads in suspicion. The leader of the Heavenly Fist Alliance, in particular, was looking at the girl in shock with constricting eyes. Goddess's right hand? Is her right hand in the ascendant state, or even higher levels? Is the leader of the Alliance of Stars this strong? My goodness! She has a goddess right hand? Is it an implant? She's so horrifying! The people of the Heavenly Fist Alliance were dumbfounded. The leader of the Thousand Feathers Alliance, however, sneered and said with disdain on her face, "Last time, you threatened that you would absorb me into the hellish vortex that's hidden in your left eye, but what happened? Can you stop acting like a child all the time? You're hilariously idiotic for someone who is at the star state." The girl's eyes turned cold, and she said, "You truly deserve to die. Last time, I benevolently spared your life, yet you do not repent, at all. You spared my life? Were you really capable of killing me?" The leader of the Thousand Feathers Alliance lost his cool. He couldn't have cared less about his manners. The people of the Thousand Feathers Alliance were all crazy braggers. You question my ability? It's time I show you the real divine power. The girl narrowed her eyes and slightly raised her right hand. The most powerful aura burst out of her body and it gathered into a golden brilliance on her right hand. At that moment, the leader of the Thousand Feathers Alliance, who was disdainful a moment earlier, changed his expression and became nervous. Does this girl mean it? He had heard that the leader of the Alliance of Stars had a powerful background. Could it be? The leaders of the Heavenly Fist Alliance and the Huang Alliance were also shocked, as they detected an overwhelming divine power. Hey! While still in the small world, Su Ping was also able to sense this. He was shocked. It was real and pure divine power, significantly purer than that of the Star State fellow from the Humia Academy who had challenged him. Is she serious? Exactly at this moment the girl roared and seized her right hand with her left. In the next moment, the divine light in her right hand disappeared. She soon calmed down and breathed heavily. While her hair was dangling from her forehead, she looked up to stare at the leader of the Thousand Feathers Alliance and said, "Good thing I contained myself, or you would have been reduced into smithereens." The leader of the Thousand Feathers Alliance almost vomited blood. Are you kidding me? You're saying that such a tiny bit of divine power is the goddess's right hand? Everybody these days has some divine power. The leaders of the Heavenly Fist Alliance and the Huang Alliance were also rendered speechless. What is going on? I'll give you one last chance. Get the hell out of here, said the girl coldly to the leader of the Thousand Feathers Alliance. You think I've never been threatened before? The latter rolled his eyes and said, just release the power in your right hand. I'm very interested in finding out how you'll kill me with that goddess's right hand of yours. I don't need to do that in order to finish you off. The girl coldly stepped out, and a long sword appeared in her palm. The long sword emanated a colorful light, as if made of glass and crystals. She suddenly slashed. A horrifying sword aura was gathered and launched like a roaring dragon. Had it not been for the restrictions of the divine residence, the attack would have been powerful enough to cut a path open to the fifth space. Such a horrifying sword made the leaders of the Huang Alliance and the Heavenly Fist Alliance reassess the situation. They realized how extraordinary the girl was. Whether or not the goddess's right hand was real, the power she unleashed with her attack was enough to cut a planet apart. It was beyond horrifying. The leader of the Thousand Feathers Alliance changed his expression and took out a fan to use as his weapon. He waved the fan and invoked a lot of wind blades. Each wind blade contained a law of wind. A single wave of the fan could have easily wiped out many people in the advanced phase of the star state. Dozens of wind blades were interwoven into a furious dragon that collided with the sword aura. After a boom, the space shook and the girl stepped forward without retreating, seeming even more intimidating. Still in her small world, Su Ping and the others sensed a magnificent energy rising. It was the power of faith that was flying out of her small world. The power of faith was gathered on her blade, unleashing a brilliant light. The leader of the Thousand Feathers Alliance became cold and made use of the power of faith too on his fan. Another clash was about to happen. All the Star Lords who had left earlier returned. You haven't split it up yet? Haha, I knew it. Great, let's all split it up together. Everybody was relieved to see that the Tree of Laws was still intact. "Why are you back?" The leader of the Huang Alliance was stunned to see them and fell into deep thought. "There's a barrier ahead that blocks our way. Cracking it will take a lot of time. Until then, let's figure out a plan to split up this Tree of Laws," said a young Star Lord, shaking his head. The female overlord who carried a saber on her back announced majestically, "What's there to be split up? You were given enough time, and yet you can't divide it. This tree is mine now. Get the hell out of here. You want the treasure after you just came back? Who do you think you are? Enough, stop arguing. It's better to fight than to argue. Since nobody is willing to give in, and it's pointless to fight for a tree, how about this? None of us will take action. Instead, each of us will send 5 champions. This tree will belong to the party whose champion stands to the end," proposed someone. "Hey? Not a bad idea. The Enigmatic Alliance is truly cunning. No, smart. Humph. I heard that multiple members of the Enigmatic Alliance are at the peak of the Star State. What a nice plan. I agree with the idea, let's each send 5 men out, no need to draw lots. They'll just fight each other. The tree will go to the party whose man stands to the end. I propose that we kick the Enigmatic out of here first, what do you think?" "Excellent idea." The leader of the Enigmatic Alliance was gloomy. "Excellent? It's my idea, and you're kicking me out? That's outrageous and unfair. Tisk, that's not something that people of our level should say. Do you really want to discuss fairness? It's an excellent proposal anyway. I'm all for it." "Indeed. The Overlord's Alliance agrees with it too. The Heavenly Fist Alliance agrees. The Huang Alliance agrees too. We're always the luckiest. We'll definitely have the tree in the end. Is that so? Let's finish off the Enigmatic Alliance first and then take over the Huang Alliance. What do you think?" "Good idea. You're ganging up against those who are the strongest. Can you be even more shameless?" The answer was yes. All the other people agreed. The alliance who made the proposal and the Huang Alliance were already public enemies, and it was almost certain that they would be kicked out. It sounded like a joke, but it was inevitable. It was impossible for the minority to resist the majority's decision. The former often held the truth, but the latter held the power. "Let's do it. Each party will send 5 champions for a 3-minute unrestricted battle." "Is it long enough?" asked someone. Nobody disagreed. More and more Star State experts were approaching, it would only be a waste of time if they stayed longer. More treasures were awaiting them inside the residence. The Star Lords were unwilling to start a bloody fight and expose their trump cards ahead of time. They preferred to let their lackeys do the fighting. It would be great if they won the tree, but even if they couldn't, they wouldn't be too regretful. After all, so many alliances were competing for the same tree. The girl turned around and looked at the people in the small world, before she chose her champions. You. The 4 advanced Star State men were all chosen, but there was still one vacancy. She glanced across the crowd, many people avoided eye contact with her when she looked at them. They knew full well that it wasn't a good thing to be chosen. They might get killed in the chaotic battle against that many champions of the alliances. There was also the fact that all advanced Star State warriors had been chosen, meaning that the battles would be in that level, the ones with early or middle phase level would be easily beaten. "Hey!" Suddenly, the girl's surprised eyes stopped for a moment. "The Void State?" She examined the guy carefully and found that he was still at the Void State. She had scanned him thoroughly, and even detected divine power in his body. It was profound, seemingly of an even greater purity than hers. "There are people that even I can't see through?" The girl observed him in surprise. "What's your name?" "Me." Back in the crowd, O'Neill, the deity of 6 realms, and the others around Suiping turned around and looked at the latter, not expecting that their leader would notice him so easily. Those at the mid-phase of the star state ahead of him were relieved, but still turned with surprise in their faces. My name is Heaven-Destroying Celestial. Suaping blushed when he reported his name under the scrutiny of many. Heaven-Destroying Celestial. The girl was stunned for a moment. Then, her eyes glittered, and she said, "What an excellent name! You're very good. Come on and fight for me. I will reward you." Well. Suaping was at a loss for words. I was chosen just like that? Well. O'Neill was rendered speechless, too. So many people were ahead of Suaping. Why was he chosen? O'Neill knew that Suaping was strong, but the young man was just a trainer. He had defeated Garland and the others probably because his level was high and he had powerful secret techniques. He had probably acquired many top battle techniques as a Grandmaster trainer from the experts he was familiar with. However, Suaping couldn't have been higher than the middle phase of the star state. That was Onal's judgment. Besides, even if he was, he couldn't compare to the others at the same level, who were real battle pet warriors. The combat ability gap couldn't be compensated with secret techniques. Experience, methods, and other abilities were all of critical importance to their performance in a battle. But in the end, since the leader had picked Suaping, O'Neill would not dare utter a word, only dropping a hint at him, asking him to stay safe. If you win this tree of laws by managing to stand until the last moment, I will give you all the fruits it has. In addition, whether you win or lose, I will give each of you a reasonably good secret treasure later. Whoever stands until the end will get to pick the fruits of laws first. This is an opportunity for you. If you seize it, you might be able to soar all the way into the Star Lord state, the girl announced proudly. Everybody was quite shocked when they heard that. None of them expected that joining the battle would have that many benefits. They would be given a treasure even if they lost. Since the leader said that it was reasonably good, it couldn't be garbage. I would have signed up for it if I had known about the rewards. Give me a break, you'll only get yourself killed. The leader wants people who can fight. I admit that I'm not a capable warrior, but I'm surely stronger than the new member, am I not? It's hard to say. Didn't you notice that the new member is concealing his cultivation so we see him as a void state warrior? I can't tell his real level. If he has such a powerful concealment technique, his other battle techniques must be just as powerful. Is that so? Is he pretending to be weak when he's actually an advanced star state big shot? Everybody noticed Suaping and gossiped about him. Some were jealous, but they couldn't sense Suaping's level so they kept their jealousy hidden. It would be natural to be chosen if Suaping was indeed such a big shot. Also, the leader must have picked Suaping because she saw through his real level. Suaping didn't know what to say after hearing their discussions. He finally understood why he had gotten chosen. Pretending? This is my real level, all right? He had never concealed his real level, yet nobody believed him. How dark do they think the world is? Suaping shook his head and walked forward. He had to admit that the leader's reward was rather tempting. His combat ability would soar if he had a chance to pick a fruit from the tree. If any of the fruits contained the law of space, he would be able to fill his bridge and ascend to the fate state. The 4 advanced star state men also noticed Suaping. They were quite solemn. None of them was able to see through Suaping's real level, which made them realize why their leader had picked him. The girl extended her hand and sprayed divine brilliance on their head, before she announced proudly, "In the name of the goddess, I bless you. Fight, my warriors." The brilliance seemed spectacular, but it was absolutely useless. Suaping was again speechless. This leader must be mentally ill. The other alliances were also picking their champions at that moment. "Guys, have them fight in our small world, so that we can intervene in time to prevent casualties," someone suggested. Nobody objected. Having decided, they joined their hands and connected some of the areas in the small worlds to construct a battlefield. "Go, my warriors," the girl cried again. Su Ping sweated hard as he followed the other 4 experts into the small world. More and more unaffiliated Star State experts were arriving at the site. Some of them noticed the Tree of Laws and exclaimed. Soon after, the number of people who learned about the Tree of Laws grew, causing an uproar. Star State warriors were extremely tempted by the tree. If they acquired it, they would even have a chance to become Star Lords. However, seeing that the alliances and some Star Lords had surrounded the area, they could only sigh with jealousy and regret. The stronger experts always claimed the resources, they could only eat the leftovers. The battles began once the champions of each party entered the small world, while overseen by a Star Lord. Everybody charged against the Huang alliance from the very beginning, including the alliance that made the proposal. However, someone charged too fast and was ambushed by other alliances, soon causing a chaotic battle inside the small world.